It began with an email. Zainab stared at the screen in her tiny Lagos apartment, blinking hard at the message she had read 3 times already. Her eyes moved slowly across the words again. Subject: Confirmation of marriage registration, Zainab Idris and Ji-hoon Kang. Dear Mrs. Kang, this is a confirmation that your marriage certificate has been processed under Korean civil registration, pursuant to your application filed with Kang Holdings Foundation 6 months ago. Her chest tightened. Mrs. Kang, she whispered. What kind of nonsense is this? She dropped her phone, snatched it back up, and reread the message. No matter how many times she scrolled, it remained the same, official, stamped, and terrifying. It even included a marriage registration number. But she wasn't married. She had never even left Nigeria. Zainab paced the small living room, past rolls of fabric and scattered sketches. She was preparing for her biggest moment, an invitation to an international fashion event in Seoul, sponsored by the same Kang Holdings that now claimed she was married to their CEO. Her fingers trembled as she opened a new tab on her laptop and typed in the name. Ji-hoon Kang. A face appeared, young, sharp-jawed, with a permanent scowl and the kind of eyes that dared the world to defy him. He was the heir to one of Korea's biggest conglomerates. CEO by age 30. Ruthless. Rich. Respected. And now, apparently, her husband? By the next morning, Zainab was at the Korean embassy in Lagos. I want to speak to whoever is in charge of this madness, she said, clutching a printed copy of the email. Her tone left no room for negotiation. The receptionist, a young man with rimmed glasses and trembling hands, offered her a confused smile. Please, there's no need to raise your voice. Raise my voice? You people registered me as someone's wife without my knowledge. I want answers. 2 hours, 4 phone calls, and 1 increasingly nervous consulate officer later, she finally got a name. It was submitted through Kang Holdings' Global Talent Exchange Program, the officer explained. All your documents were translated and co-signed under the KGE policy 6 months ago. Zainab froze. KGE. She remembered. The Kang Global Exchange competition. She had applied on a whim, desperate for international exposure. They'd offered winners sponsorships, mentorship, and a possible internship in Seoul. She hadn't been selected, but apparently, something else had gone very, very wrong. There must have been a clerical error, she murmured, but the panic was building. The officer frowned. Actually, there were no errors in the paperwork. It was sealed in Korea. It's binding. Zainab's mouth went dry. No, she said slowly. I need to go there. To Seoul. I need to meet this man and tear that paper in his face. 3 days later, she landed in Incheon International Airport with nothing but her visa, a suitcase, and fire in her veins. The city was cold. Brighter than she'd imagined. The streets buzzed with silent rushes of people in muted colors. Zainab stuck out like a spotlight in her Ankara jacket and box braids, and she knew it, but she didn't care. She'd come for a war. The headquarters of Kang Holdings was a towering glass fortress that pierced the Seoul skyline like a knife. Its name was etched in chrome near the top, and its security was tighter than a government building. Zainab stood at the front desk, surrounded by polished marble floors and suited assistants, and announced with quiet fury, I'm here to see Ji-hoon Kang. Tell him his wife has arrived. They didn't let her in. She waited in the lobby for 3 hours, until the receptionist began pretending not to see her anymore. Then she waited another hour. Then she stopped waiting. She slipped past security when someone came through a side elevator, dodging eyes and cameras with the precision of someone who had once designed dresses for pageants in Lagos slums where survival was its own kind of fashion show. Zainab stepped out on the top floor, straight into chaos. There was a board meeting in progress. 10 men in suits. One CEO at the head of the table. Ji-hoon Kang looked up. Their eyes locked. The room fell silent. Zainab raised the crumpled email in one hand and pointed at him with the other. You, she said, loud and clear. We need to talk. Alone. Now. Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. He stood slowly, buttoned his navy suit jacket, and said to his stunned board, 5 minutes. He led her into his glass-walled office and shut the door. Who are you? He asked coldly, voice low, controlled. Zainab threw the printed marriage certificate on his desk. Your wife, apparently. He blinked once, then glanced at the document. For the first time, a flicker of surprise cracked through his mask. I didn't authorize this. Well, I didn't either. He studied her. You're the designer from Nigeria.
Yes. Zainab Idris. I submitted my portfolio to your company.
I didn't sign up to be dragged into your legal circus. Ji-hoon turned the paper slowly, then looked up. If this leaks, it'll destroy my next merger. My company is already unstable. This, he pointed at the document, could cost me everything.
Zainab folded her arms.
Not my problem. He stared at her for a long moment, then said something she never expected.
Then make it your problem.
For 30 days.
Her eyes narrowed.
What are you saying?
Stay married to me. Publicly.
Just for 1 month.
Zainab let out a short laugh.
Are you insane?
I'll pay. You'll live here. Be seen with me. Attend functions. Look happy.
In exchange, I'll fix your status, clear your name, and give your brand exposure. When the time's up, we dissolve it cleanly. Zainab stared at him, incredulous. You want me to fake a marriage for your image? You already are, he said, coolly. Might as well get something out of it. There was a pause. And then he added, or I can send this document to the press and let them spin the story themselves. Nigerian woman scams Korean CEO into international marriage. You decide.
The air turned cold.
Zainab's fists clenched. You're a bastard.
Ji-hoon didn't blink. And you're smart.
That's why you'll say yes. She stared at him, at the man who held all the power and none of the heart. And against every instinct in her body, she said, fine.
Love K-dramas with a twist?
Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn the bell for more beautiful and unforgettable love stories. The contract was typed and signed within 24 hours. Zainab's signature looked out of place beneath the polished letterhead of Kang Holdings. She stared at the document, heart pounding, as Ji-hoon passed her a pen with clinical efficiency.
No eye contact. No sentiment. Just business.
You'll be escorted to my residence this evening, he said, as if reading out the weather report. There will be press at the gala tomorrow night. Wear something elegant.
She narrowed her eyes.
I didn't bring gowns for fake weddings.
He didn't flinch.
There's a stylist waiting. You'll be dressed like my wife.
Zainab bristled.
And how does your real wife behave, Mr. Kang? Ji-hoon finally met her gaze, calm, unreadable.
She knows when to play her part. Ji-hoon's penthouse wasn't a home. It was a fortress in glass and stone.
Perched above Seoul's skyline, the space had floor-to-ceiling windows, but it felt like a cage. Everything was sleek, cold, expensive. Zainab stood near the entrance, clutching her overnight bag, trying to ignore how out of place she felt. Even the air smelled rich, like cedar wood and power. A slim, quiet housekeeper bowed to her.
Mrs. Kang.
This way.
Zainab rolled her eyes.
Please don't call me that. But the woman was already leading her to a massive guest room, twice the size of her entire apartment in Lagos. A white dress hung in a garment bag on the bed, glimmering under the chandelier's glow. She sank onto the edge of the mattress and whispered to herself, 1 month. Then I'm out. That night, she barely slept. The silence of the penthouse was too loud. Every tick of the clock, every creak of the glass, reminded her that she was in a stranger's world, pretending to be his wife. She wandered into the kitchen just before dawn, dressed in a hoodie and leggings. The lights flicked on softly. Ji-hoon was already there. He stood at the window, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sipping black coffee and staring at nothing. Even half-dressed, he looked like power incarnate. Zainab turned to leave. You're up early, he said without looking. She paused. Couldn't sleep. Your house is too quiet. His lips twitched, barely. That's the point. Zainab walked to the counter and poured herself tea. The silence between them felt like a fragile thread waiting to snap. I saw a drawer in your office, she said casually, with a lock on it. Ji-hoon's eyes flicked to hers. And? What's inside? He took a slow sip. Don't touch what doesn't belong to you. Zainab smiled. So polite for a man who blackmailed me into marriage. He turned fully now, his gaze unreadable. And you're so honest for someone who signed legal documents without knowing what they meant. The words hit hard. She hated that he was right. But she hated his smirk even more. The gala was a show of perfection. Zainab descended the marble staircase in a deep emerald gown, her makeup flawless, her hair in a braided updo that turned heads the moment she entered the ballroom. Camera flashes burst like fireworks as Ji-hoon took her arm. He leaned in, his breath brushing her ear. Smile like you love me.
She did. But inside, she burned. They posed for photos. Politely chatted with executives.
Zainab was calm, elegant, and painfully aware of every calculating gaze aimed her way.
Then came her. Park Ha-ai, Ji-hoon's former fiancé.
Tall, porcelain-skinned, with cold eyes and a voice like silk soaked in venom.
She smiled at Zainab like a predator greeting a naive gazelle.
So this is the famous wife, she purred.
We were all so surprised.
Weren't we, darling? She touched Ji-hoon's arm like she still owned it.
He stepped slightly away. Zainab forced a smile.
Surprises make life exciting.
Ha-ai tilted her head. Do they?
Tell me, Mrs. Kang, how exactly did you two meet?
The silence stretched. Zainab's smile didn't waver. He saw me across a Lagos market. I was arguing over the price of yam. He said I looked fearless.
The rest is fate.
Someone nearby chuckled. Ha-ai's face darkened.
Ji-hoon's fingers brushed Zainab's waist. It wasn't love, it was strategy. But in that moment, they were a flawless couple. Later that night, back at the penthouse, the tension finally snapped. Zainab threw off her heels and turned on him.
What was that?
Parading me like some trophy. You agreed to this, Ji-hoon replied, loosening his tie. If you're not up to it, we can cancel the deal.
You think I'm not up to it, she snapped.
I carried my family's business for years. I fought through poverty, competition, corruption, just to build something. And you, she jabbed a finger at him, you think I'm some gold digger here to wear your ring and pose for photos?
Ji-hoon's jaw clenched. I didn't say that.
You didn't have to.
He turned away, voice tight. I don't have time for this.
You never do you? She said, softer now. You live in this glass box like you're already dead.
He froze.
For a split second, something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe.
Regret. Then it was gone. You're not here to understand me, he said.
You're here to play a role. Remember that.
Zainab stared at him, heart pounding.
I'm not your puppet, Ji-hoon.
No,
he said, walking away.
You're my wife. The next morning, she found the drawer unlocked. It wasn't empty. Inside was a photo. Worn, crumpled, stained at the corners.
A young Ji-hoon, maybe 17, with blood on his shirt and a scared look in his eyes, standing next to a girl in a faded yellow dress. Zainab's throat tightened.
That girl. It couldn't be.
But she recognized the braided bracelet on the girl's wrist.
She had one just like it. She had made it as a child, one of only 2 in the world. And now, one was in a photograph. With Ji-hoon. Her legs felt weak.
She put the photo back, quietly closed the drawer, and walked out of the study in silence.
The lies were starting to peel back.
And she wasn't sure either of them was ready for what lay beneath. The next few days blurred into staged smiles and silent tension. Zainab was everywhere now, on social media, in newspapers, in whispered boardroom conversations. The mysterious Nigerian wife of Ji-hoon Kang.
Some called it romantic. Others called it scandalous. Everyone had an opinion. Except Ji-hoon. He barely spoke unless it was rehearsed or required. Every moment they spent together was a performance, until it wasn't. They attended a charity gala that weekend. Another event, another mask. Zainab wore a gold silk gown. Ji-hoon was in all black, sharp and brooding. Cameras snapped as they walked the carpet, arms linked like lovers. You're good at pretending, he murmured under his breath. She smiled tightly. Years of watching Nollywood. Comes in handy. Inside, she mingled like a natural. People asked about her brand, her journey, her plans. She answered with poise, never once letting the ache in her chest show. Until she overheard 2 investors whisper. She must have seduced him. He was going to marry Park Ha-ai. Now look, married to a charity case. Probably just a diversity stunt. She'll be gone in a month. Zainab's fists clenched. She turned, walked calmly to the table, and delivered a flawless 2-minute speech about African textile innovation and sustainable fashion exports. The room applauded. Even Ji-hoon looked surprised. But Ha-ai, watching from the edge of the room, smiled coldly. Later that night, the news broke. Breaking, Zainab Idris Kang accused of fabricating marriage to Ji-hoon Kang. A leaked internal document suggested inconsistencies in Zainab's original KGE application.
Photos of her boarding the plane to Seoul without prior visa approval went viral. The press began spinning a cruel narrative. Ambitious Nigerian woman traps Korean CEO in sham marriage to gain fame. It exploded across platforms within hours. Zainab was already in the apartment when it hit. She stood in front of the TV, frozen. Ji-hoon arrived minutes later, phone glued to his ear.
"Shut it down. Now. Trace the leak. Get our legal team." He saw her expression. The call ended. She turned to him slowly.
"Did you know this was coming?"
His jaw tensed. "No."
"Did your company do this to get rid of me?" "I said no."
She walked past him. "It doesn't matter. I'll pack my things."
"They'll have their scandal and you'll have your clean exit."
"You think I care about them?" he snapped. She paused.
"Do you care about anything, Ji-hoon?"
He didn't answer. So she kept walking. She didn't sleep that night.
The penthouse felt colder than usual. At 3 a.m., Ji-hoon appeared at her door.
He didn't knock.
He simply leaned against the frame, staring at the floor. "Do you want to know why I agreed to this marriage?"
Zainab sat up slowly.
3 years ago, he began, my father's scandal nearly destroyed the company.
I took over to clean it up.
But I became what they wanted, cold, polished, careful. The investors didn't want a CEO with emotion. They wanted a machine.
His voice softened. I was supposed to marry Park Ha-I. It would have saved the company.
Secured loyalty.
But I couldn't do it. She didn't love me. She loved the title. He finally looked at her. And then your file showed up.
A forgotten competition application, buried under the legal department's junk pile. Your designs, your story, they felt real. And suddenly, this marriage, this mistake, wasn't just a mistake. It was a way out.
Zainab's heart beat faster. You used me, she said quietly. He nodded.
Yes. But something tells me I wasn't the only one who got used, she added.
Silence. She stood and walked to him.
You hide everything behind power and control. But there's something you're not telling me.
Ji-hoon hesitated.
Then, I knew you looked familiar.
From the moment you stepped into the boardroom.
Zainab blinked. What?
I don't know how or why.
But when I was 17, I was injured in Lagos. It was a dark alley. Some guys tried to rob me. A girl helped me, kept me from bleeding out.
She sang a song while wrapping my wound.
A melody I never forgot. He looked at her, his voice low and shaken. You hummed it in the elevator yesterday.
Zainab's breath caught. The bracelet. The photo. It was you, he said.
I think it was, she whispered.
He stepped closer. We met before.
Fate just brought us back the wrong way.
She didn't know what made her do it, but she reached for his hand.
And for once, he didn't pull away.
The next morning, reporters waited outside the building.
Zainab emerged first. She faced the cameras with a steady gaze.
I did not scam anyone, she said.
But I did marry someone I didn't understand. What I'm beginning to realize is, he didn't understand me either. So we're going to fix that. And then Ji-hoon stepped beside her. He said one sentence that made headlines across Asia and Africa.
This is my wife.
And no one, media, board, or family, gets to question that.
They walked back inside together. No longer pretending.
Just beginning. Zainab didn't expect warmth from Ji-hoon. But after the press conference, something shifted.
He no longer barked orders. He asked. Sometimes. He no longer avoided her eyes.
In fact, he lingered, like he was trying to see something in her he hadn't dared look for before. And Zainab, despite herself, began to let her guard down.
Their truce wasn't romantic. It was cautious. Respectful. But there were moments. Small ones.
Like when he watched her sketch new dress designs with quiet admiration. Or when she caught him staring at her reflection in the window during a car ride. Or when he made her tea exactly the way she liked it, without asking. And then, there was the photo. Zainab waited until he was at a board meeting, then unlocked the drawer again.
She held the photo for a long time. She was sure now. It was her. 12 years old.
She remembered that day clearly. The mugging behind the Lagos market, the pale boy with the bleeding arm, the look of terror in his eyes. She had sung to calm him down while her older brother helped wrap his wound. The bracelet on her wrist had been one she made herself, half yellow beads, half sky blue. A match to the one she still kept in her sewing kit, frayed with time.
She had no idea who he was back then. And now he was her husband.
That evening, she walked into his study and laid the photo on the table between them. "You kept this for 12 years, she said. Ji-hoon looked at it, then at her.
"I told myself I didn't believe in fate.
That I'd never rely on chance again."
He touched the corner of the photo. "But I kept this. Because I remembered the way you sang.
The way you didn't ask for anything.
You just helped me." He lifted his gaze.
"I never forgot."
Zainab's voice was quiet. "Neither did I." They stood in silence.
Then she said, "You never thanked me."
Ji-hoon moved closer. "I didn't know how." "Then try," she whispered. He took her hand. "Thank you, Zainab." Her throat tightened.
"You're welcome, Ji-hoon." They didn't kiss.
Not yet. But something between them had changed completely.
And the universe, it seemed, wasn't done with them. 2 days later, Ji-hoon's ex-fiancée, Hao-I, made her move.
She arrived unannounced at Kang Holdings. Walked into the chairman's office like she still owned the floor.
"I know about her," she said, dropping a USB on the desk. Inside were scanned files from Zainab's application 6 months ago, doctored versions showing her requesting expedited citizenship status, including a digitally altered clause requesting marital residency protection.
Fake. But convincing. Ji-hoon stared at the screen.
"Where did you get this?"
Ha-I smiled. "You have enemies, Ji-hoon.
Ones who think with your heart involved, you're becoming weak. I didn't authorize this."
"Of course you didn't," she said.
"But the people around you did."
She leaned in. "You can end this now.
Divorce her, clear your name, save your company, and marry me, like we were supposed to."
Ji-hoon's face was unreadable. Then came his reply. "She's the only one who never wanted anything from me.
And that's why she's the only one I trust."
Ha-I's smile faded. That night,
Ji-hoon came home late. Zainab was already asleep, curled on the couch with her sketchpad open on her lap. He stood there for a long time, just watching her. When her eyes fluttered open, he knelt beside her. "We've been set up," he said quietly.
She sat up.
"What do you mean?" He explained everything. How the fake documents, the betrayal in his inner circle.
"They want you gone.
And they are willing to forge evidence to make it happen."
Zainab inhaled sharply.
"What do we do?" He looked at her, really looked.
"We fight back.
Together."
She nodded once. "I'm with you," she said.
The next morning, they met with legal counsel. Zainab pulled out the original version of her application.
"This is what I submitted."
"I still have the original printout in my design folder." It didn't match the forged file. The lawyer confirmed the signatures had been altered. And not just that, someone inside Kang Holdings had cleared the changes. A traitor. That night, Ji-hoon stood on the balcony, city lights glittering beneath him.
Zainab joined him, pulling a shawl around her shoulders.
"They think we're weak together," he said. "Then let them underestimate us."
He turned to her.
"You really believe in this, in us?"
"I believe in the truth," she replied.
"And I believe we didn't come together by mistake." She held up her wrist, revealing the matching bracelet, the twin of the one in the photo. "I think we were always meant to find each other again." Ji-hoon reached into his pocket and held up the old, worn bracelet from his drawer. Together, they tied the two halves around each other's wrists.
A quiet promise. No more pretending. Just truth.
And the beginning of something real.
They had a plan. Expose the forgery.
Name the culprit. Clear Zainab's name and cement her position, not just as Ji-hoon's wife, but as someone who belonged in his world.
But power doesn't go down quietly.
The board of Kang Holdings called an emergency meeting. The pressure had been mounting ever since Ji-hoon defended Zainab publicly. This time, it boiled over. "You're compromising the company's future," one director snapped. "This scandal is destabilizing our partnerships in Japan and the UAE," another added.
"Investors are pulling out.
We can't afford a CEO embroiled in tabloid drama." Ji-hoon remained calm, arms folded, expression unreadable.
"She's my wife."
The story ends there. An older board member, grim and calculated, leaned forward.
"Then you leave us no choice.
You either annul the marriage and step down from the public spotlight, or we will vote to remove you as CEO."
The words hung in the air like a guillotine. Ji-hoon said nothing. But his silence said enough. Zainab found him on the rooftop later that night. The sky was hazy. Seoul glowed beneath them. He didn't turn around when she approached.
They gave you an ultimatum, she said softly.
He nodded. She stepped beside him.
And what are you going to do? I haven't decided.
Zainab didn't speak for a while.
Then, quietly, you don't have to choose me.
That got his attention. He turned sharply. What?
I'll go.
I'll leave quietly.
They'll get what they want, and you'll keep the company.
His voice cracked.
You'd really walk away. Her eyes shimmered, but her voice stayed steady. If it means protecting you, yes.
Ji-hoon took a step closer. You're not just my wife, Zainab. You're the only person in my life who doesn't want anything from me.
The only one who saw me, before the suits, before the title.
She looked up at him. And you're the only one who looked at me without pity. Who never asked me to shrink. He reached into his coat pocket.
Slowly, deliberately, he pulled out a small black box.
Zainab blinked.
I've never asked you for anything real, Ji-hoon said. Everything about us started wrong.
But I want to make it right. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Not diamond. Not flashy.
A delicate platinum band with a tiny sapphire. Quiet, strong, and impossibly beautiful.
I'm not asking you to keep pretending, he said. I'm asking you to choose me. For real this time.
Zainab covered her mouth, trembling.
Tears slid down her cheeks.
She whispered, You're going to lose everything.
He took her hand.
I already did. The day I became someone I didn't recognize. But with you, I found myself again.
He went down on one knee. Not for the cameras. Not for the board. Just for her. Zainab Idris Kang, he said.
Will you marry me properly this time?
She didn't hesitate.
Yes. The next morning, Ji-hoon walked into the boardroom and handed over a sealed envelope.
I'm stepping down. Gasps.
No press statement, he said.
No scandal. Just the truth. You wanted a puppet, not a leader.
You'll get your puppet.
He glanced around.
But you've lost something far more valuable, your soul.
Then he walked out. Zainab waited for him outside the building. They didn't say anything. He took her hand.
And together, they left behind the empire he'd built, to start something real. A month later, news broke. Ji-hoon Kang launches independent startup with wife Zainab Kang, merging fashion and tech innovation across Africa and Asia. They called it Bracelink, a nod to the matching bracelets that once tied their past to their future.
Zainab's designs exploded across Seoul.
Ji-hoon's new tech platform connected African artisans with global retailers. They worked late, traveled often, argued loudly, and loved even louder. One evening, back in Lagos for a runway event, Ji-hoon stood on the balcony of a rooftop overlooking the same market where they'd first met as children. Zainab joined him, holding his hand. Do you ever wonder how different things would have been, she asked, if we hadn't made that mistake?
Ji-hoon smiled softly.
It wasn't a mistake.
She leaned her head on his shoulder. No, she said. It was fate.